Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Extraordinary Talk Show with your host, Della Hill. This is our fourth show or episode, and I am so excited to be here with you again today. I hope that there's a couple people listening. I hope a couple of you are back from last week and want to hear some more. Today, I have a very, very special invitation for you that's building on what we've talked about the last couple of weeks. We've talked about breaking rules. We've talked about loving yourself. We've talked about opening your mind to new ideas, new concepts, being a true skeptic, which means that you're willing to evaluate new ideas that come to you and not either believe them immediately or throw them out immediately, but take the time to get to know them and consider them and decide how they apply to you and if they're right for you in your life. So today we're going to build on that, and I have a very special invitation for you. The invitation that I have for you today is for you. I'm asking you, almost begging you, to become extraordinary. Now, maybe you already are and you know it and you know all the ways how, in which case you may not need to listen to this or may just add to what you've already got going on. But if you feel like you could be more extraordinary than you already are, maybe sit and listen, and I might just say something that is meant for you, that you are here to hear today. So we call this the Extraordinary Talk Show. You might wonder why. Extraordinary, the word extraordinary covers a lot for me. I did the typical thing, and I looked up the definition of extraordinary. Specifically, the definition is exceptional in character, amount, extent, degree, etc. Noteworthy, remarkable. Other synonyms, which means other words that mean the same thing. Amazing, exceptional, fantastic, incredible, marvelous, outstanding, phenomenal, remarkable, singular, uncommon, unprecedented, unusual, boss, off the beaten path, and stupendous. Those are all things that extraordinary means. And you have within you the ability to be completely extraordinary. Some people are afraid of being extraordinary, and there's a reason why. There are other words that also are synonyms for extraordinary that I didn't read the first time through. Some of these are bizarre, odd, strange, unique, weird, peculiar. And many of us are afraid of being those things. We're going to talk about fear some more here in a minute. We're mostly afraid of those things because we are afraid of not being accepted, and things that are bizarre, strange, weird, odd, peculiar tend to not always be accepted by the mainstream. One thing I said a few weeks ago is everything is weird until it becomes mainstream. Jogging was weird until it became mainstream. Now everybody does it. But fear is an interesting thing. In the world, there are two basic emotions, and both of these emotions have a tremendous amount of power behind them. The first is love. The second is fear. Any other emotion that you want to name is going to fit into one of those. Things like anxiety, worry, anger, these are all secondary to fear. Things like gratitude, joy, happiness, these are derivatives of love. And we want to be driven by love. When it comes down to it, fear is easier. It's always easier to give into fear. But love is stronger. Love will always win when you fight with it. And you can fight with love. In fact, it's the best way to fight. So part of becoming extraordinary is learning to filter out your fears and let in love. And some of that starts with loving yourself. We talked about that last week. Loving yourself can be difficult, can be, especially at the very beginning. If you've never learned to love yourself, learning to love yourself can be really hard. But I promise you it is worth it. And I promise you this too. You deserve it. You deserve love in every part of your life, especially from yourself. And if you're not finding love in your life, there's a good chance that you don't love yourself enough. People treat us the way that we treat ourselves. It's rather interesting when you look at people and you see how they allow others to treat them. You see the kid that's being bullied and, it breaks your heart. But you can also see, and I'm not saying that it's okay. Don't think for a second that I'm approving of bullying. You kind of see that the kid who's being bullied allows it a little bit. In a way, he gives permission. And I'm not saying it's okay. Don't think I am. And I'm not saying that that kid is welcoming it or inviting it. But you also see the other kids that never even get bullied, that the kid never comes up to them and tries to bully them. Quick story. My little brother, his name is Vaughn. He's actually not my little brother anymore. He's just my younger brother because he's taller than I am. When he was in 7th or 8th grade, he had a kid try to bully him, come up to him, give him a hard time, even grabbed his arm and pinned it behind his back. Now, Vaughn grew up in a family of 7 kids. He was the youngest. He got protected. He didn't get messed around with and teased at home as much as some of us did, because anytime somebody tried to give him a hard time, everybody else backed him up. So he got away with a lot at home. And I say that very lovingly. But he was also a really smart kid, and he understood a lot, and he loved himself. So when this kid had his arm pinned behind his back, Vaughn kept his face clear. He put on his poker face for, the 7th grader that he was, and he acted like it didn't hurt. He acted like it wasn't a big deal. And the kid even twisted his arm harder to try and hurt him more. And instead of letting it show, he kept his tough face. Inside himself, what he was saying is, I respect myself too much to let you do this to me. So I'm not going to let you see the pain that you're causing. And in a minute, the kid that was twisting his arm said, all right, man, you're cool. Let go of his arm, walked away. But it doesn't end there. A few days later, another kid, and I don't know what was up with my little brother Vaughn. Maybe he was kind of skinny, kind of scrawny. Maybe they thought he'd be an easy target. When this other kid came up and tried to give him a hard time, the first kid from a few days before, the one that had pinned his arm behind his back, ran up and said, hey, man, leave him alone. He's cool. And actually protected my brother. And it came down to my brother Vaughn had enough self-respect that he was unwilling to let this other kid see his fear. He was not willing to let that kid see his fear. And in order to do that, he had to hide his own fear from himself a little bit. He had to pretend it didn't hurt. And I'm sure that was a hard thing to do, but he managed to do it. And he was never bullied again. Nobody ever bugged him or harassed him again after that. When you treat yourself with love, other people will too. You can look around you and see people that you know that no one ever messes with. No one's going to bug those guys. Why is that? If you look at them, if you pay attention, it's because they love themselves and they treat themselves with such a manner of respect that other people kind of have to. It's funny how it works, but the world is very much a mirror. And what we put out, we get back. So if we put out love, we get love back. It's that easy, except it's that easy to say, not always that easy to do. And that's one thing that we're here for on the Extraordinary Talk Show, is to keep talking about how you can do those things. And I only have about 28 minutes every week to get as much information in as I can. And I'm trying to do that for you, but I hope you'll come back with me again next week and learn some more. So when it comes to just being awesome, I've got a great quote for you. And awesome is a derivative of extraordinary. And both of those are derivatives of love. Those are both very powerful forces. They're very high frequency. That's something that I'll talk another time about. But being awesome, I have a really great guy I used to work with. His name is Michael Nesson. And somebody one day told him that he was awesome. Well, Mike is awesome, very smart, and very great at applying his knowledge to his life. He's just cool. You spend time with him and you learn. It's really neat to be around someone like that. And someone said, "Hey, Mike, you're so awesome. I wish I could be like you." And he stopped and he looked at them and he said, "Awesome does not have a singular mold. It is malleable. You are awesome too." Meaning you don't have to be like Mike, my friend Mike in this case, in order to be awesome. He's awesome, but that doesn't mean that you have to be like him to be awesome. Because awesome does not have a singular mold. It's malleable. You are awesome too. So what that means is everybody can be awesome in their own different way. If you know who J.P. Sears is, he's the guy with red hair on YouTube and a lot of YouTube videos and Facebook. He usually wears a bandana with a flower in it, and he's very positive, but he also is very tongue-in-cheek and jokes a lot. But he gives a really great TED Talk. And in his TED Talk, he says, "No one ever inspired anyone by being normal." I love that so much. If you're looking for normal, and you remember those synonyms that synonyms that I read, some of those were bizarre, odd, rare, strange, unique, weird, peculiar. Doesn't that sound like the opposite of normal? That sounds like the opposite of normal to me. No one ever inspired anyone by being normal. And look at the people that inspire you. And you might have some very great people. My mom, my grandma, my grandpa come to mind that are very solid people. You might even call them normal in some ways. But they are extraordinary in their ability to give love to others. And that's really a special thing. There's nothing normal about the people that I named in how they give love. They're all very unique and special in how they do that. So look at the people that you admire and recognize the things about them that aren't like everyone else. And those are probably the things that you love the most. So next, look in the mirror, because this world is a big mirror, and find the things about yourself that you love the most. And they may be little things, they might be big things, but find them, recognize them, acknowledge them. That's the very first step. I have another quote for you, and this, okay, if you've listened the last few weeks, you realize I like to read a lot of quotes, read poems. So much of the information that I have, that I've learned, that I'm trying here to share with you, I've gotten from other people. I'm not just coming up with all of this myself. I'm taking all the information that I've learned everywhere and I'm bringing it, trying to compile it and put it in a reasonably organized format to help you understand. So I'm very, very often going to be sharing other people's thoughts and ideas because other people are smarter than I am. And I want to share that with you. This is my favorite quote. And I have a lot of favorite quotes, but this is at the very, very top of my favorite quotes because this quote gave me permission to change my life. This quote is by Marianne Williamson, and it's very likely you've heard it because there's a lot of, I've seen it shared on Facebook a lot, Instagram, those kind of things. It's by Marianne Williamson, but it's very often misquoted as Nelson Mandela because he quoted this in one of his speeches. Our deepest fear, remember we're talking about fears, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous, extraordinary? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. I'm going to stop there. There's more to the quote, and I'm going to read it in a minute. But that quote caught my attention, and I found this quote probably about 10 years ago. I always kind of hoped, I would like to say I knew, but I'm not sure I can commit that much. I always had the idea that there was something special inside me. I always had the idea that there was something extraordinary about me, but I didn't know what it was. Wasn't sure what it was. I had some ideas, and I worried, what if that's true? What if I actually do have those amazing things about me and I start to be those things and I don't fit in anymore? What if my extraordinary scares off the people around me? And that was a pretty big fear. And it was so deep that I could not have even explained it in the sentences that I just used to explain it. It was just something that I was kind of afraid of. It's in our DNA to be accepted. And that's the case because many years ago, when we lived in tribes, if we didn't behave in the tribe, if we didn't follow the rules in the tribe, we got kicked out of the tribe. And being kicked out of a tribe was almost certain death. So we've learned for thousands and thousands of years to fit the mold, to be what everybody else is so that we fit, to be normal, to not be weird, to not be peculiar because we want to fit. Well, we live in a day now that we don't live in those same kind of tribes. We still do have tribes and our tribes matter. But if your tribe would kick you out for being extraordinary, you need to find an extraordinary tribe. And that's something that is possible. You can do it. I'm going to read it again from the beginning, and now I'm going to go through the whole quote. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, talented, gorgeous, fabulous, extraordinary? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it is in all of us. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. This is such a gift. So again, that first part that I read twice, that caught my attention the first time. And then the rest of it added to that as I came to understand and accept that idea. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. That means if right now you're afraid that being your authentic self, that being the extraordinary you, means that other people are going to feel insecure around you, they're going to be afraid of you, you're not going to fit for them anymore. We talked about being familiar a few weeks ago. The brain loves what is familiar. And it is true that as you become more and more extraordinary, the people around you who have not yet grasped their own extraordinary, they may be uncomfortable around you because you're no longer familiar. That doesn't mean that you should back down. That means you should keep driving, because as you become more and more extraordinary, when other people see that, it will give them permission to be extraordinary. When I found this quote 10 years ago, it gave me permission. This quote gave me permission to latch on to that little bit inside of me, that little light that I was pretty sure was there, and it was. That little light of awesome, that little spark of extraordinary that I was pretty sure I had, but afraid of bringing out. And when I found this quote, it gave me permission to bring it out. It gave me permission to be authentic, to be extraordinary, and to let my light out, to let my light hopefully guide other people. That's a really, really powerful thing. And I'm intensely grateful that I found this quote when I did, because I don't know what it would have taken otherwise. Hopefully it means something to you somewhere close to what it meant to me the first time I heard it. The line that I used to say to myself over and over and over is, actually, who are you not to be? Because we do ask ourselves, well, who am I to do that? Who am I to be a millionaire? Who am I to be successful in business? Who am I? Why would I have a wonderful, beautiful relationship? Who are you not to be? You have a right. You deserve it. You deserve every good thing simply because you exist. I don't care who you are, what you do, what set of rules or rules you follow in your life. Your existence on this planet means you deserve it. I believe one of my mentors, Vishen Lakhiani, says, if you have a heartbeat, you have a purpose. And if you have that, you are worthy and deserving of every good thing. It takes a little while to convince yourself of that, but you can do it. And how do you do that? That's a very good question. Very first step, I already said, choose love. Recognize every time you feel an emotion, and it might be your emotion or it might be an emotion that you're feeling that someone else is putting off. You notice when somebody else is upset or angry, you kind of notice it. Even if they don't say anything directly to you, they let off an energy, you sense that. Many people are empathic, which means that they take on the emotions of other people. And if you're doing that, it's actually a beautiful gift to be able to do that, but you need to be able to learn to control it, or it's very hard to manage your own emotions when you're so busy managing other people's emotions. And that's not fair to you. But choose love. When you are around people who are loving, those are people that you want to hang out with. When you are around people who are negative, especially if they're negative towards you, you deserve better. And realize that when people are treating you badly, it's because they are driven by fear. When other people are putting you down, when other people are setting you aside, when other people are not giving you the value that you deserve, it's because they are choosing fear. And you don't know why. Maybe you do. We all do the best we can with what we have, at least the best we think we can. And you've made mistakes in your life, and you had a reason for making those mistakes in your life. You could go back and explain why you did what you did. Doesn't mean it was right, wrong, good, or bad. But you can tell people, oh yeah, that's why I did that. I had a reason for acting that way, even if it was the wrong choice in the moment. So when people treat you badly, try to understand that they have a reason for doing that. For one thing, they're being driven by fear, and that's very sad. But also realize that's about them. That's their issue. And you don't need to take it on. In fact, taking on their problems will hold you back, and you deserve better than that. So choose love. Choose to be around people that are driven by love rather than driven by fear. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, spend a few minutes with different people you'll know, and think in your head, is this person a love person or a fear person? We all have both, but we have to decide what is bigger for us, what's going to drive us. Another story on that, and you may have heard this one. It's one that my dad tells that's really good. Indian scout says to the chief, or the chief says to the Indian scout, there are two wolves inside every one of us. One is the good, one is the bad. And what he meant was one is love and one is fear. And we must choose which wolf we will feed, which one will drive us, which one we will allow to drive us. And the Indian scout says to the chief, well, how do we pick? How do we choose? How do we stay away from fear? How do we go towards love? Which wolf do we choose? And the chief says, it depends which one you feed. Because if you choose love, you're going to feed the wolf inside you that follows love. And if you choose fear, you're going to feed the wolf inside you that chooses fear. So that means in your life, in every area and aspect of your life, the activities that you do, the books and shows that you watch, the Facebook pages you follow, the people around you, All of them are driven either by love or fear. And as you expose yourself to this with this thought in your mind, you will be able to decide and recognize this is a love person. This is a fear person. This is a love show. This is a fear show. These are things I do or don't want to add to who I am and to feed my wolf. So choose things that are about love. Remember, fear is easier. It is. It's easy to give into fear, but love is so much stronger. And the more you choose love, the easier it gets. Fear only has the place in your life that you give it. If you stop feeding it, it'll go away hungry. And another of my mentors, one of my favorites, Dolores Cannon, she says, fear is for entertainment purposes only. If you want to experience fear, go watch a horror movie, ride a roller coaster. There's no other purpose for fear in your life. We also know fear destroys more dreams than failure ever does. Many, too many of us are driven by fear, and we don't even try to live out our dreams because we're afraid. I'm asking you to try. Find love, love yourself, put love out in the world, and that mirror will give it back to you. My 30 minutes go so much faster than I even know what to do with, but I'm so happy to be here with you today. I'm Della Hill. This is the Extraordinary Talk Show. Remember, I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm only encouraging you to think for yourself. So I wish you love always. I'll see you next week at 4:30 on Monday.